I'm Emily Rooney. Welcome to Beat the Press. Our topics: 60 Minutes admits it made a mistake and apologizes to viewers. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul blames others for his mistake. And is it a mistake for the media to harp on Mayor-elect Marty Walsh's marital status? That and our panel rants and raves of the week. Joining me are Dan Kennedy of Northeastern University, WGBH's Kelly Crossley, Kara Miller of WGBH, and John Keller of WBZ. First, 60 Minutes correspondent Lara Logan had a lengthy report last month detailing what happened on the night of September 11, 2012, when the American compound in Benghazi came under attack. One of her sources was an ex-security guard who said he was there. Now, correspondent Lara Logan is apologizing, saying the source misled them. The 60 Minutes report was a chilling account of what happened before and during the terrorist attack on the American compound in Libya.
You'll hear for the first time from a security officer who witnessed the attack. He calls himself Morgan Jones, a pseudonym he's using for his own safety.
The man's name is actually Dylan Davies, the author of a new book, The Embassy House, where he details events of that night, even saying he snuck into a Benghazi hospital and saw the body of Ambassador Chris Stevens, a story he repeated to CBS's Lara Logan.
I didn't even have to go into the room to see who it was. I knew who it was immediately.
Who was it?
It was the ambassador. He was dead.
Dylan also told Logan he went to the compound twice that night, once confronting an al-Qaeda attacker.
As I got closer, just hit him with the butt of the rifle in the face.
And?
Oh, he went down, yeah.
Now, though, CBS acknowledges it was a fabrication.
The most important thing to every person at 60 Minutes is the truth. And today the truth is that we made a mistake. And that's very disappointing for any journalist. It's very disappointing for me.
Earlier this week, CBS News chairman and 60 Minutes executive producer Jeff Fager stood by the story saying, "We are proud of the reporting that went into this story." But once the FBI confirmed Davies was not there that night, 60 Minutes retreated.
But what we now know is that he told the FBI a different story to what he told us.
File under what a shame, because other elements of the 60 Minutes report were really good. That's a terrible qualification, but I went back and looked at this report. And in many respects, this guy, Davies, added what I would call color commentary, a lot of life. He put himself at the scene. But really, the breadth of the story was around that, about all the help that had been asked for and kind of the events leading up to what happened that night, the signals that al-Qaeda was about to attack, the fact that they were on a list of targets and that was the last remaining target. And sure enough, it happened. And they knew about this. It was all the morning. And here was this guy who was just at the scene. The tragedy is that other news outlets had already reported that this guy Davies was full of it, because there was an incident report and an FBI report that essentially said he wasn't there. And then when the book comes out, he puts himself there, and it's a disaster.
It's somewhat reminiscent of the National Guard story that 60 Minutes did with George W. Bush. And it's also reminiscent in that particular report, very little of it really could be questioned. A lot of it had been broken by the Boston Globe years earlier. What made that story so resonant was that they had a document, and the document turned out to be a forgery. And in this case, a lot of good reporting, but their star witness turned out to be, I guess he turned out to be a fraud, although it's still a little bit hard to know. I'd say that what CBS is saying, and I think this is probably the right approach to take, is we just can't vouch for him anymore. We don't know what to think. I think that we deserve to know what they mean when they say he was thoroughly vetted. I mean, his story began falling apart the minute it became publicized. And I'd also like to know why 60 Minutes didn't disclose that the book that this guy wrote was published by another division of their company.
Yeah, they did admit that was a mistake. The interesting thing, Callie, will be, I mean, as we know, there's a lot of people we knew, heads rolled at CBS when this happened with the National Guard story, but I don't know if that will be the case this time.
Well, what's interesting about this is that it was determined that around the forged note and the Guardsman story that the person giving them that note had a motivation. which the 60 Minutes said, we didn't explore. We know better, and we didn't explore it as far as it should be. Now, I'm trying to figure out what this guy's motivation other
selling
than,
books.
Well, yeah, okay, but, that was only going to go so far. Eventually, something was going to catch up with him. And in this case, he had 2 documents in which he said, the same thing, and only one thing the other way he spoke to 60 Minutes. So this was going to catch up with him sooner rather than later. So beyond selling books, what was his motivation and why? I'm not
He made himself
clear.
out to be a hero during the entire interview. He was saying, I warned them, I told them, I said that the Libyan security officers were no good. And sure enough, they disappeared that night, and only me and other guys were there helping the Americans. So he wanted to be a hero.
I guess he did. The part of the report that I thought, even when I just saw it, I thought it was a little bit ludicrous when he said he hit the guy with the butt of the gun. Mm-hmm. He said, I waited until he approached me, and I'm thinking, why didn't the guy just shoot you?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't understand. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I think that there's similarity with the George W. Bush National Guard story. Also in the sense that these are highly, highly politicized stories. They're already, before 60 Minutes stepped into them, was a sort of a maelstrom around the story. And I feel like 60 Minutes is one of the few entities left that can really say, okay, forget all this stuff on the right, on the left. We're going to make some sense of this. We're going to bring clarity to this. And I think what's unfortunate here is they didn't really, now that there's a maelstrom around 60 Minutes, we sort of lost that opportunity to really figure out what happened there. And I think that's really crucial. And I have to say, you pick up on something you said, Callie. Dylan Davies had said to his employer something different than what he said to Lara Logan. And my understanding was she understood that before she did the interview. And what she didn't know is that he had said something different to the FBI. But, there should have been alarm bells all over the place, I would think.
Yeah, it's every news organization's worst nightmare. You put your faith in the veracity of a source. Supposedly you check it out, and it turns out to be bogus. I agree with you that the politicization, both sides of the argument over Benghazi, the political camps, really need to recognize that what the fog of war means. It means that it's unclear what's going on, and often can remain that way for many years. But I'm glad you noted that there were other... that story didn't need that
no, it didn't
to make
need
it.
him.
There was detail in there. I'd never heard the Al-Qaeda flag flying in Benghazi months in advance. What a shame.
Yeah, that's what I said. They didn't need him, but he added what that crucial color commentary.